Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. I'm so glad to be back on MuslimDo. They've been doing amazing work for the past little while, and inshallah, I'll be joining you every Monday at this time for the next month. So we'll be talking about a few different topics around personal development and professional development within the framework of Islam. And let's get started. So today's topic or today's presentation, inshallah, will be about setting goals and achieving them. I've given a version of this before on MuslimDo, but this inshallah will be much better. Bismillah. So we don't want to talk today actually about setting goals at all. We want to talk about how you achieve them. We all have these notebooks that are filled with goals and to-do lists and so many things that we often get overwhelmed and we end up achieving nothing. So today, inshallah, we'll see how we can actually achieve them. So there are a few concepts we're going to talk about. The first one being the North Star. And this concept was taught to me by someone who is a very successful entrepreneur and founder in Silicon Valley, who has founded a company worth in the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. And his advice was find a North Star. What is your goal? What is the thing that you're working towards? This could be you want to alleviate the suffering of certain things in humanity, or you want to get a certain job, or you want to raise a family. Now, set that goal as your North Star and always work towards it. Now, as you have your North Star, you need to keep a few things in mind. First of all, you need to reflect deeply and figure out what your purpose in life is. What do you want to do and where do you want to be? After you've identified your North Star, and this is like the most important part now, as you start to work towards it, you need to cut out all the noise. For example, if you're in school and you're studying and you want to get into med school, you want to get into an engineering university, or you want to work at a certain company, you almost need to be like one of those horses that has those covers on its eyes on the sides. You don't see anything but your goal. And then as you're working towards your goal, some days will be better than the others. Some days you'll score well. Some days you'll feel good about yourself. Some days you'll achieve your goals and some days you won't. It doesn't matter if you have a bad day. It doesn't matter if you have a bad week, month, or even year. What matters is that your day is better than your last day. Your week is better than your last week. Your year is better than your last year. As long as you can take a step back and look at the trend and see a trend that's moving up over time, you're winning. So another concept is the motivation cycle. And I think this is one of the biggest misconceptions and lies that we live in, including myself every day. We think that I'm going to be sitting down on my bed, I'll feel inspired, I'll go take action and I'll see the result. For example, say I want to work out and I like to stay active and I want to go work out every day. So every day I'm going to wait for the motivation. Once I have that motivation, I'm going to go work out, and then eventually I'll reach the healthy physical state that I want to be in. But you rarely ever get the motivation. And if you get it, it will last a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week maximum. What actually should be, you should take action. We need to break that cycle. You take the action, you get up, you work out, you see the results, whether it's like being in a healthier state, feeling the soreness of working out. And then this result will actually propel you by giving you more motivation. And then the motivation feeds in action, and then the cycle continues. So always think about it as action, result, motivation, not motivation, action, result. Another important concept, and you see Ice Cube here, is the concept of activation energy. I'm not going to bore you down with a chemistry lesson here, but activation energy is basically to get a certain chemical reaction, you need a certain amount of energy to activate it. For example, for water to boil, it needs to reach 100 degrees Celsius, So imagine you have an ice cube, not the actor, but an actual physical ice cube. And with this ice cube, imagine that you have it in a room that's -6 degrees Celsius. Now, if you increase it from -6 to -5, a degree, it's not going to melt the ice cube. You increase it another degree, -4, not going to melt it. -3, not. -2, -1, 0. You increase it by 6 degrees and the ice cube is not going to melt. But then you move just one more degree, you transition from 0 to 1, and the ice cube has melted. So you could be putting in work every day and not seeing the results of it. As long as you've kind of like studied the work that you need to be doing and you've planned it well, you know that it's working towards a goal, but you're not seeing the result, don't be disappointed. The results will actually come much later. But the beauty about this is that the results can come in like the blink of an eye. You switch from 0 degrees to 1 degree, and the ice cube started melting, even though for like many degrees it hasn't melted. So this is a very important concept when you are working and you don't see the results of the work you're putting in. I said we're going to be working within the framework of Islam. So all of these frameworks and all of these methods and all of these techniques don't just apply to worldly goals. It doesn't just apply to getting your next job or getting married or, you know, achieving the next lateral career move. It actually applies strongly to Islam, and it applies firstly to Islam, actually. So, you know, like we should always be balancing the worlds that we live in. We should always be working towards the akhirah, and we don't forget, we don't forget the little portion of the world that we have, but the priority is always to the akhirah, the priority is always to the hereafter. That's something that we should always keep in mind. So I think this also takes a lot of reflection. It takes a lot of effort, and it takes time. You know, we should be away from our phones. We don't need to sit on our phones all day. We need to that alone time. If we cut them out a little bit, we could reflect on, figure out what's our inside state. Do we actually value the world we live in? Do I value getting the job, or do I value my prayer? If I have a work meeting, am I gonna push the prayer, or am I gonna push the work meeting? Ask yourself some questions like that, and to know what your priority is. And if our priority is this world, we actually should take some corrective action. Another very important point, again, like I'm glossing over these. I can like spend an entire lecture on each one, or can spend an entire talk on each one. But I'm going through them because it's a lot of content. Create systems on goals. For example, I'm going to give you a very personal example from my days in university. I always wanted to set the goal of not staying up all night before an exam, and I always fail to do so. Because my goal itself was to not stay up the night before the exam and stay studying all night. But when I switched my goal into making sure, when I switched my goal, being from home and Zoom meetings, oh God. When I basically switched my goal that I want to actually have the material done, like say like I have a course that has 10 chapters, I want to have all 10 chapters done before the exam come. I've always, alhamdulillah, slept the entire night, full 8 hours of sleep before an exam. So the shift here was like, I shifted from a goal of not sleeping or being able to sleep the night before exam to actually, I want to finish a certain amount of material. So this in terms built a habit in me that for the end of the term or whatever time it is, I actually broke down the lessons. I studied them on like a weekly schedule, and I made sure everything was done. For example, say you want to sleep early. You can't just say you want to sleep early and get frustrated at yourself for not sleeping early every day, but you can start to take habits like removing your phone from your bedroom, like not like turning off the lights or white light at like 9 p.m., something along these lines. So create a system that will allow you to reach your goal, but don't focus on just the goal, because you'll always miss the goal. And then going to the Islamic tradition, last but not least, this hadith by the Prophet ﷺ, where he talks about a strong believer, that a strong believer is more favorable to Allah than a weak believer, and that there is good in everyone, but but subhanAllah, we always need to focus on the hereafter. And it says something very key here. It says, "Ista'in billah wa la ta'jas." I think we really overlook it when we're trying to achieve goals, when we're trying to work towards something. The most important thing is to actually start. Before any of this, start having with tawakkul on Allah and ista'ana ala Allah in everything, the smallest thing to the biggest thing, from even just getting out of your bed to go work out to coming back, and actually like doing the workout, So we need to have reliance on Allah in every part of it, in every step of the way. And this concludes my presentation. And we will see you inshallah next Monday at 7:15 p.m. where we'll be picking up another topic about self-development within the Islamic framework. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.